والاستئناف بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We were discussing the chapter of Babul Hadathi fi Salat. If a person was reading Salat and then Hadath, his wudu broke unintentionally, then it is okay, it is fine for him to go quickly, make wudu, and come back without engaging in any actions that are negatory to Salah, that will nullify the Salah. Then he can continue. In our last meeting, the last time we met, we discussed some of those conditions, right? So at the end, what he's saying is, if you fulfill all those conditions, everything, very good, mashallah, but والاستئناف أفضل تحرزا عن شبهة الاختلاف وعن شبهة الخلاف. But at the end of the day, it is still better. At the end of the day, it is still better for you to do what? To restart your salah. Why is it so better for you to start your salah? Because there's ikhtilaf in the madhab, or there's ikhtilaf amongst ulama. Some ulama say that it's not valid to make bina, is not valid, right? And then there's so many conditions that you have to fulfill when you want to make bina. You're not sure you're going to fulfill those conditions, etc., etc. So it's better to just rather restart your salah one time, right? That's what he's saying. Well, istinafu afdal. To restart the salah is better. Why? Afdal taharruzan. To abstain an shubhatil khilafi, from the doubt of khilaf that exists amongst the ulama. But waqila al-munfaridu yastaqbil. It is been said, and this makes sense. If you're reading salah on your own, right, then rather just restart the salah. Why? Because it's not like you like, you're reading in Jamaat and you want to get the reward of making Jamaat, etc., etc., right? Waqila al-munfaridu yastaqbil. Say that the munfarid, right, yastaqbil. You must just restart the salah. Although maybe there will be the inconvenience of rereading what you read already, right? وقيل المنفرد مستقبل يستقبل. It is said that the munfarid, he will restart the salah. Right? والإمام والمقتدي يبني ويبنيان. And he said that the imam and the muqtadi يبنيان لفضيلة الجماعة. They must make bina. Why? Because they are part of the jamaat and they want to get the reward. So for them, it's better to try to fulfill all these conditions here, right? And once they fulfill those conditions and they make bina, they build on the salah, so they'll be protecting the salah and still they will be getting the reward of making jama'at. You understood that, right? Okay, read the next text, inshallah. Okay, so in the next ibara, وَالْمُنْفَرِدُ إِنْ شَاءَ أَتَمَّ فِي مَنْزِلِهِ وَإِنْ شَاءَ عَادَ إِلَى مَكَانِهِ. So where should you make bina? Where should you build on your salah? If you are a munfarid, if you are reading salah alone, right, you're not the imam or you're not the muqtadi, you are reading on your own. وَالْمُنْفَرِدُ, the munfarid, إِنْ شَاءَ, if he wishes, أَتَمَّ فِي مَنْزِلِهِ وَإِنْ شَاءَ عَادَ إِلَى مَكَانِهِ. The place where you will go to. In previous days, there weren't ablution facilities like how we have today, right? So you'd go to your house to read salah, whatever, right? And obviously the houses were in close proximity, right? So, or even if you don't take it to your house, however you're going to make wudu. وَالْمُنْفَرِدَ munfarid, in sha'a, if he wishes, أَتَمَّ فِي مَنْزِلِهِ, he can complete he make bina, complete the rest of his salah, fi manzili, in his house. وَإِنْ شَاءَ, but if he wish, عَادَ إِلَى مَكَانِهِ, right? He then, if he wish, he can go back to the place where he was making jama'at and he continues there, right? You understood? Carry on. So this is a munfarid, right? This is a munfarid. وَالْمُقْتَدِي لِيَعُودَ إِلَى مَكَانِهِ. If you are muqtadi, you are making jama'at, you are following the imam, etc. وَالْمُقْتَدِي لِيَعُودَ إِلَى مَكَانِهِ. It is necessary for him ليعود إلى مكانه, to go to where? He must go to the place where he was following the Imam, right? إلا أن يكون إماما قد فرغ. But if he's following the Imam, right? He is following the Imam and he went to make wudu, but he knows now for certain that the Imam might have finished his Salah already, that the Imam has finished his Salah already. There's no point in going back. Then he can read wherever he is, where he went to make wudu. Understood that? So, والمقتدي ليعود إلى مكانه إلا يكون إماما إلا يكون إمامه قد فرغ, except that his Imam has completed. أو لا يكون بينهما حائل أو لا يكون بينهما حائل, or he don't have to return to his place when there is not between them two an obstruction or a barrier. So what he's saying, you see, we'll do this at a later stage, inshallah, in the kitab. There are certain times when you can't follow the Imam, when you are considered to be in a different place to what the Imam is in. Like, for example, the Imam is across the road, the Imam is across the river, the Imam is in one place on one plot and you are on another plot, so you can't follow the Imam. So what he's saying, if the place where you went to make wudu is not considered to be the same place of the Imam, then you cannot follow him from there. You cannot make iqtidah from there. You'll have to come and what? Come back to the place. That's what he's saying. أو لا يكون بينهما حائل, except there is not between them two a barrier. So when there is a barrier between them two, then you can't follow. You understood that? So أو لا يكون بينهما. So if you are in a big open place, like maybe a big masjid or open area or something, then it is not necessary for you to return to your place. You can follow him from where you are because it's considered the same place. Well, from the very beginning, you could have followed him from there because it is considered one majlis. It's not considered two separate places. So you could follow him from there. So here too, you can there's no barrier between the two. Is that clear? You understood that? Okay, read the next ibarat. Okay, just stop there. Istaqbala salata. What do you understand from that ibarat? Tell us what you understand from that ibarat there. What you understood from that one, tell me. Just read it and tell me what you understood. Online people can even tell us what they understood from that. وَمَنْ ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ أَحْدَثَ فَخَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ ثُمَّ عَلِمَ أَنَّهُ لَمْ يُحْدِثْ اسْتَقْبَلَ الصَّلَاةَ. Yeah. So he thought he broke his salah? He thought he broke his wudu? Yeah. No. That's different. This is he thought he broke his wudu in salah. He thought he broke his wudu in salah. So maybe he thought some drop of urine came out or something, but when he checked, he saw there is no urine that came out, etc., etc. Understood what I'm saying? That's what he's saying there. وَمَنْ ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ أَحْدَثَ. That person that thought أَنَّهُ أَحْدَثَ, that he broke his wudu, فَخَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ, then he came out of the masjid, right? Thinking that his wudu, but then he realized that no, my wudu didn't break. Like I told you, maybe he thought a drop of urine or something came out, and he said no, nothing came out, right? So وَمَنْ ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ أَحْدَثَ فَخَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ, he came out of the masjid. ثُمَّ عَلِمَ أَنَّهُ لَمْ يُحْدِث, then he learned no, my wudu didn't break, right? They say yeah, istaqbala salata, you will have to restart your salah. Istaqbala salata, you don't have the choice of making bina. Okay, my wudu didn't break, so I'll go back in and I will continue from where I stopped. No, you have to. So this will also refer to, I told you, this is also applicable to a woman reading by the house. Maybe she's reading a faraz or she's reading a sunnah, anything. So she thought her wudu broke. I can only think about one scenario. Maybe you thought some urine came out. Maybe what is another scenario you can think about? where you thought your wudu broke, but then you realized your wudu never break? Loud? Maybe a woman thought some discharge came out and then she checked and she saw no discharge. Any other scenario where a person thought his wudu broke, but then I can't think about any scenario. A person thought his wudu, unless maybe he just had a doubt, but then he realized, no man, this was only a doubt. It wasn't really that anything came out. Like, so, yeah, okay, maybe he thought, a person thought in their mind that I passed win. A person thought in their mind that they passed win. But then they thought probably said, no man, I don't think I broke my wudu. I don't think any wind came out. So now there's the masla there. وَمَنْ ظَنَّ, that person who thought أَنَّهُ, that he أَحْدَثَ, broke his wudu, فَخَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ, then he came out from the masjid, ثُمَّ عَلِمَ أَنَّهُ لَمْ يُحْدِث, then he was certain that no man, I never break my wudu, no wind came out or no discharge came out. ثُمَّ عَلِمَ أَنَّهُ لَمْ يُحْدِث استقبل الصلاة, this person will have to restart the salah. This person won't have the choice of making what? This person will have the choice of making bina, right? We carry on. Okay, so this masla is وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ, I got it, يُصَلِّ مَا بَقِيَ. If the person never come out of the masjid, so that means he was reading in the masjid, right? Okay, the scenario of a person reading by the house, or the person reading alone, or person reading in the open field, that will come in a bit. Just at the moment, you were reading in the masjid, right? And then you thought your wudu broke, and then you decided to go to make wudu. But whilst you were still in the masjid, you realized, no man, my wudu never break. وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ يُصَلِّي وَصَلَّى مَا بَقِيَ, you can read the remainder. That means, in other words, you can make bina as long as you do not come out of the masjid. Understood it? So يعني يجوز له البناء ما لم يخرج من المسجد, as long as he does not come out of the masjid. Okay, read the next text. Right. So they're saying وَالْقِيَاسُ فِيهِمَا الْإِسْتِقْبَالُ. If you look at it logically speaking, there's a question here. Says, woman, you had doubt in your witr, must you perform your isha from scratch? Repeat the entire salah. I'm not sure what you mean by the question. Does it mean like you had doubt with your wudu also? Maybe you can qualify that question, inshallah. So when you explain more detail, inshallah, we'll respond to that, right? So وَالْقِيَاسُ فِيهِمَا الْإِسْتِقْبَالُ. They're saying there that in both instances where you thought your wudu broke, right, and it never break, whether you came out of the masjid or you didn't come out of the masjid, logically speaking, they're saying you should restart your namaz. Although what we said, as long as you never come out of the masjid, as long as you didn't come out of the masjid, we can still make bina, you understood? But logically, even if you never come out of the masjid, logically speaking, you're supposed to restart your salah. وَالْقِيَاسُ, the logic, فِيهِمَا, in them two is al-istiqbalu, is to restart the salah, right? Whether you came out to the masjid or whether you never come out. وَهُوَ رِوَايَةٌ عَنْ مُحَمَّدٍ رَحِمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. And this is a narration from Imam Muhammad. Why? لِوُجُودِ الْإِنْصِرَافِ مِنْ غَيْرِ أُذْرٍ. And what is his reasoning? What is his rationale? His reasoning is this, look here, your wudu never break, isn't it? Your wudu, Luqman, your wudu never break, right? So that means you had no reason to leave there. So you left there without a reason. And if you left there without a reason, it will nullify your salah. So whether you came out of the masjid, yeah, so okay, this question here is saying that you had your doubt with your wudu, broke up and checked and realized the wudu is intact. No, so you'll only have to read the witr again. You don't have to read the isha again because the witr is a separate salah. The witr is an independent salah, right? So in fact that you must make istinaf of witr doesn't mean you have to make istinaf, or that you have to restart your witr doesn't mean you have to start your isha namaz again or redo your isha namaz. So yeah, no, only the witr, right? So they're saying there, um, right, لوجود الانصراف من غير عذر, because you turned away from the salah, you left the salah من غير عذر, without a good reason. So whether you're in the masjid or whether you're out of the masjid, you left your salah without any good reason, so you will have to repeat your salah. You understood? Carry on reading.
أنا على صلاته الإصلاح به ما لم يختلف المكان الخروج.
Who can speak here, Mana? Who can speak here? See what they're looking for. Carry on. Yeah. وجه الاستحسان أن انصرف على قصد الإصلاح. The reason why we say that you can, when you, as long as you don't leave the masjid, as long as you do not leave the masjid, you don't have to restart, right? As long as you, why? They say أن انصرف على قصد الإصلاح, that this person didn't intentionally break their salah. It's not like they were abandoning the salah or something like that, right? It's not like they were abandoning salah or anything. وجه أنه انصرف, this person left على قصد الإصلاح, with the express intention of correcting their salah. This person left with the express intention of right. So the reason why we say the salah is correct is because, see, that this person didn't abandon salah because they wanted to leave the salah or anything. They left the salah with the intention of salvaging the salah. So wajul istihsan is the reason for, remember istihsan means deeper than the normal meaning. Wajhul istihsani, the reason for the deeper in logic is أنه انصرف, this person left على قصد الإصلاح, with the intention of correcting the salah. And here we will quote something to prove. ألا ترى أنه لو تحقق ما توهم بنى على صلاته. And don't, before we look at the ibarat, I'm explaining, isn't that if this person's wudu really broke, right, then it is correct for him to make bina, isn't it? So here this person thought that their wudu broke, and so it was based on a misunderstanding. So because it wasn't an intentional abandonment of the salah, because it wasn't an intentional abandonment of the salah, that is why we'll say what? That the salah is still intact. It was a abandonment, or what we say instiraf, turning away salah, premised on, based upon a misunderstanding. Are you with me? See there. ألا ترى, don't you see? أنه لو تحقق ما توهمه. So ما توهمه is like the file. That was that this person thought, or this person had doubt. لو تحقق, if it really came into reality, right, then بنى على صلاته, he can make bina upon his salah, right? فألحق قصد الإصلاح بحقيقته. So we'll say that فألحق قصد الإصلاح بحقيقته. Here he really needed to correct his salah, And here where he thought he need to correct his salah, as long as in the same masjid, we'll give them, or as long as they're in the same place, we'll give them both the same hukam. You understood that? فَأَلْحَقَ. So, or you got فَأَلْحَقَ فَأُلْحِقَ. Yeah, that makes more sense. فَأُلْحِقَ قَصْدُ الْإِصْلَاحِ. So the intention of correcting salah, right, it will be joined بِحَقِيقَتِهِ, where the actual need to correct the salah was there, right? مَا لَمْ يَخْتَلِفَ الْمَكَانُ بِالْخُرُوجِ, as long as a person did come out of the masjid. So as long as a person didn't leave the masjid, as long as that person didn't leave the masjid, we will say that the intention to correct will be as though it was correcting itself. You understood that? Right? Okay, read the next ibarat, okay? Yeah. So that's clear now. You understood that. You might, online people, I hope you understood that ibarat. It was a bit complex. But the next surah Masna is this here, that the Imam thought his wudu broke. He thought his wudu broke. And then he put somebody else to come to follow, to lead. Right? So he pulled maybe the closest person. But then he realized his wudu didn't break. See there. وَإِنْ كَانَ إِسْتَخْلَفَ. If a person made istikhlaf, right? فَسَدَتْ صَلَاتُهُ. His salat will become fasid. Why? لأنه عمل كثير من غير عذر. Because here the Imam done a big action, and it was pulling another person to come and lead the people because he's going to make wudu. And we know there's a principle also that one is amal kathir and one is amal qalil. Amal qalil is that small action. When a person looks at you, you won't think this person is out of salat, right? So that normally when you engage in amal qalil, it doesn't nullify the salat. But amal kathir is where if a person looks from outside and you think that no, this person is not in salah. That's one explanation. And another explanation for amal kathir also is this: when a person does the same action, right? A person does the same action 3 times, right? So that nullifies the salah. Okay, so the question here: if you are in the haram of Makkah or Medina, you will have to leave the masjid to check what's the ruling. Well, the main masala what we're discussing here is you had a doubt that your wudu broke, but then you realize your wudu never break. You had a doubt that your wudu broke, and then you realize your wudu never break. So, yes, maybe if you're in a haram, you go to one corner and you check and etc. That it will be applicable. Go to a place where nobody can see you. So the masala we're discussing today is that you are, or rather we're discussing now, you are the Imam, right? And then you thought your wudu broke, so you pulled the closest person to follow. وَإِنْ كَانَ إِسْتَخْلَفَ. Then we're saying فَسَدَتْ صَلَاتُهُ. Thus the Imam Salah will become batil لأنه عمل كثير من غير عذر, because the Imam he engaged in amal kathir. I explained you just now what is the definition of amal kathir. It is a big action or a lot of action. And there was no reason, there was no good reason. Why? Because his wudu didn't really break. His wudu didn't really break. لأنه عمل كثير من غير عذر. وهذا بخلاف ما إذا ظن أو افتتح على غير وضوء فانصرف ثم علم أن على وضوء حيث تفسد وإن لم يخرج. Okay, so here we're moving to another masla. The other masla that we were discussing earlier is you started your salah, right? And then you thought your wudu broke, right? And then you realize your wudu never break. Remember that was a masla we discussed earlier? Now what is the masla is here now? You thought you read salat and then you realize in your salah you thought yourself, hey, I didn't have wudu, I didn't have wudu. So in his mind he thought he started the salah without wudu. In his mind he thought he started the salah without wudu. وهذا بخلاف ما إذا ظن افتتح على غير وضوء. Then ثم انصرف يمين but then he realized ثم علم أنه على وضوء. No, I didn't have salah. حيث تفسد وإن لم يخرج. Yeah, his salah will become batil even though he didn't leave the masjid. Remember the previous one we said, where you thought you don't have wudu, or rather you thought your wudu broke, but then you realize your wudu never break. So as long as you're still in the masjid, you can make bina If you're out of the masjid, you can't make bina, remember? But here, where you thought that I started salat without wudu, you thought you started salah without wudu, but then you realize, no, I did have wudu. Then here, in this case here, he cannot make bina, he'll have to restart his salah. All right? Okay, we'll stop there, we'll continue. There was a few complex masail today, I hope it's clear, inshallah, it's understood, inshallah. But let us know, inshallah. Let's stop there. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك الله وبحمدك ونشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين. Allah Ta'ala accept, Allah Ta'ala make them go. Zain, you can get